What did your crush do that completely ruined your infatuation for them? We talked about exes. She mentioned how she should have cheated on him because he was boring to be with. Yeah, I'm out. Noticed an attractive woman a few times at a local hangout spot. One evening we struck up a conversation. This led to a series of casual hookups. We'd usually meet somewhere, which kept it light and casual. One night she invited me to her place. Pretty quickly I realized that this was the home of a married couple pictures, etc. I asked if she was married and she said yes, but it was okay because he was out of town on a fishing trip. I'm not a saint, but it really bothered me because I didn't consent to have an affair with a married woman. I noped out of there and didn't look back. Not a crush, but someone I was seeing, ghosted me when I started chemo. Fork her cousin and have a baby with him. This might sound dumb, but I was dating someone briefly several years ago that I had a red flag moment and walked away. We had only gone on a few dates and hadn't become intimate yet. He came to my house when I had just bought my first car and he sat on the hood. I asked him not to do that, and he just laughed. After a few more times asking and him blatantly ignoring me and mocking me, I dropped him. If he couldn't even manage respecting such a small boundary, I wasn't interested in giving him a chance not to respect others. We had made plans for Halloween. We were supposed to go to a club and meet some friends. She ended up saying she was sick and stayed home. About a week later, I'm going to drop her off at her house and she told me what she really did on Halloween. She went to a different club with her friends, not ours. There was plenty of other issues in the relationship, but that one truth is what made me snap. I just dropped her off without saying anything, and a few days later broke up with her. I don't think she even cheated, just too much lying and manipulation. Asked for my number 2. Set me up with her friend. Married someone else. Told me that the reason she hung around me was to get close to my very tall best friend. They dated for 3 weeks before he dumped her. Mistreating people close to them. Major turn off for me. Even if someone doesn't have anything they can give you doesn't mean they're worthless or not deserving of kindness. Lift people up, don't tear them down. Started dating with someone else right after I confessed to her. She didn't say yes or no, she said I need more time, and one day later she said, wait for me to leave him or give up? ? Nothing bad, but once we spoke in depth I realized how completely incompatible we are. Might be messed up, but you can't eat from good looks. I loved my high school GF, and when we broke up in grade 12 I missed her ever since. 7 years later I messaged her to say happy birthday and that I hope she is well. Her reply was, thank you, I finally got away from an abusive guy, but now I gotta live in a shelter. My dumbass said I have a spare room, come stay with me, until you save up and get on your feet. Turns out she was a very intense alcoholic and squatted at my place for 2.5 years smoking poppers and drank with no initiative for anything before she decided to have a bath, started the water, then passed out drunk while I was at work. My apartment was severely flooded, I got evicted and I'm now living with my parents. My lease agreement was $1,200 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment with all utilities included in Toronto. I'll never get that again. Moved in with her over the summer break and realized that we had nothing in common. No common interests or hobbies, and our lifestyles were completely different, and realized that except for flirting and schoolwork we really had nothing to talk about. She said my only problem was being white. Turns out that if you want to be my lover, you should not get with my friends. Played devil's advocate even if she didn't agree with what she was saying. At first it worked, but eventually it became tiring, comical, and most of all a turn off. She made her dog eat her out and then sent the video out to a bunch of boys in the school. I saw like 5 seconds of that video and lost like 5 months of feelings for that girl. Still haven't been able to see dogs or peanut butter the same since. On our only date, he picked me up and then parked in a disabled parking space because it was busy. Years of feelings for this man left my body in seconds. She was one of the hottest girls in my high school, and somehow she started liking a dweeb like me. She was a lifeguard at a pool and I visited her to just chat and chill while she worked. Then, while having a more open and comfortable chat rather than school stuff, she says, it was good that black people were enslaved. We taught them civility, and gave them food/shelter instead of living in Saharan tribes. They owe us. Stopped talking to her from then on. He wanted to abuse animals with me and he was a porn addict. I feel extremely disgusted when I think about it. She was very attractive, but hated cats, not allergic to them, but just couldn't tolerate being around them. The ultimatum she gave me was that if ever we were to live together, I'd have to give up my wonderful cat and devote my entire attention to her. I said, in that case, she should move on with her life because my furry friend will remain. He kept cheating on his girlfriend. Good thing the GF finally had the sense to leave him and ended up dating and marrying someone better. Laughed at me when I asked them out. Tore up the only ever Valentine's card I ever gave, I was 14-15, in front of me and laughed. Had a huge crush on a guy for years. He disappeared, so I reached out to him. He was working for his landlord, living off credit cards because he said his credit was already wrecked from a ticket he never paid, totally isolated. He stole toilet paper to wipe his ass and used hand soap to bathe. His shower curtain was perpetually off the rails on the floor of the bathtub. Something clearly was wrong. Besides this, he was a misogynistic Totally zapped all the infatuation I had felt for years. Hope he is okay. TLDR, classic case of if you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else? He found out I had German family, then did the Nazi salute right in front of me. Also, my family didn't fight on the Nazi side, they fled to where I live currently when the war started. Went inside the old man neighbor's car and had sex with him. She went outside after a couple of minutes and closed the car's door silently like no one's gonna notice. I spied from the terrace. My crush back in 8th grade asked why I don't just murder people since I don't share her Christian morals, as I had recently told her I was an atheist. I stammered out that morality isn't tied to church, and then I looked at her and saw the intense hatred in her eyes. That face was the ugliest face I had ever seen, and that moment cleared up any misconceptions I had about that particular person. Oh, boy. Back when I was in elementary school, I liked a lot this dude. He was the teacher's son and everyone wanted to be with him. 12 years passed, forking 12. I was on my second semester in college and there he was. We talked for a bit, normal boring shirt, and a couple of days later he asked me out. I said yes, and it has been the most horrible date I've ever had. He took me to get something to eat. After that, he said he needed to go to buy something in the grocery store. He left me in the car, waiting. He came back with absolutely nothing and drive us to an abandoned place, something like a kindergarten's parking lot. We started to kiss and he sucked at it. I don't know why I thought he will be an incredible kisser. I wait for that moment for over a decade. Then, I realized he just wanted to fork me right there. I was so disappointed and asked him to take me home. Constantly calling me while I was on holiday with my friends, making me FaceTime with them during my holiday, me losing sleep because they want to stay up on a call, literally making me go insane. She sent me a picture of the poop she freshly taken. During one of his untreated manic episodes, he told me that he simply processes everything faster than everyone else. That was why all of his past relationships and friendships had failed. People, including me, just didn't understand things, politics/religion/conspiracy/music to the level that he did. My crush instantly vanished. Flossed their teeth, then ate the gunk off of it. He called me boring because I wasn't laughing at the insensitive TikToks he showed me about disabled and autistic people. Had a long-time crush on a family friend, one of those crushes that I always found myself thinking about when I wasn't actively crushing on someone else. I've known him since I was like 8 and he was 10, but we were never super close, so I never tried to make it a thing and just let it stay as a crush that came and went. When the pandemic hit, I had just gone through a bad breakup, and I reconnected with this friend through video games online while I waited for the school year to end, quarantined in my dorm. The crush was coming back, but I knew he was dating someone at the time, so I didn't say anything and just enjoyed our online games, sometimes with his friends joining too. Then one night when it was just us on the call, we'd finished gaming and were just chatting, and he said that he liked me. I was like, "Aren't you dating someone?" He said something like, "Yeah, but I've been wanting to break up with her for a bit." I was so flabbergasted, like, dude, just break up with her then. Don't hold on for no reason and then tell another girl you like her while you're still dating someone. If he had just broken up with her first and then told me, maybe we'd be dating now. But that was such a turn-off that he'd say that while still in a relationship, that I haven't though about him in a positive way since then. Talked about autistics in a very disrespectful way. I hadn't told her I was autistic at that point, but now I don't even want to talk with her. I've been nursing a small crush on this girl I went to college with for about a month or so. It was inconvenient because I've always thought that dating classmates is just as bad an idea as dating work colleagues. I wanted to just be friends, but sometimes the heart gets in the way. Anyway, one day she came back into class from a smoke break and I got hit by this wave of cigarette smoke. It suddenly crossed my mind that, if we ever dated, that smell is all I'd ever be able to smell. It'd be in my clothes, my home, on her breath when we kissed. The crush vanished instantly. It was like a switch flicked in my brain from potential partner to just friends, which finally allowed me to get her out of my head. We were hanging out in a neighborhood with a group and she found a dead dog. Without hesitating, she picked up a stick and started to sodomize the poor creature. I left immediately. Treated waitstaff like shirt. She was a gentle and polite girl, but she tried to get me into piss fetish. I mean, to drink hers was an absolute turn-on for her. Total no-go for me. Not text me for 4 years. Couldn't get over her abusive ex who literally sexually assaulted her and still loves him. 2 similar experiences from 2 different crushes when I was a teenager within a space of a year or so. After I asked them out, their response was that thought of the idea of going on a date with me was gross. After I asked them out, their response was disgust also on going on a date with me, but to add icing to the cake this time around, their brother also threatened to beat me up if I didn't leave their sister alone. By that stage I was pretty hurt my crush's comments. I didn't want to speak to or have anything to do with him anymore anyway. Nothing ruins infatuation more than being told from people you are interested in that you are disgusting and have threats made against you for liking them. A simple no would have been more than enough. I saw her picking her nose and next moment the same finger went in her mouth. Arg, never went close to her again. I realized one day she was dirty. Not in a good way, lol. She didn't shower regularly and kept her place in disarray, kind of dirty. She was beautiful but couldn't get past that. Started dating an older guy. I'm happy for them, but it showed me how her mindset was different and I wouldn't be what she was looking for. Bi, and my crush was a man. He put a printed out picture or furry porn covered in milk and put it in my folder. We went to a dinner and there was a table of 8 to 10 people celebrating a birthday near us. At one point they let a big laugh in excitement. She leaned over to me and said in hers, "Am I right?" So causally, so calmly that it took me a second to comprehend what she said. When it did, I just left. Never spoke to her again. I knew her for a long time too. No clue she had that hate going through her mind. Tried to communicate with them how I was feeling at a shirty time and she bounced. She shared her political opinion on an IG story, and it was far from my views. So far that I couldn't imagine us not discussing every time about politics. I overheard her say that sex with the ex is convenient and something she does often. I think I dodged a bullet. He littered. Just opened his car door and dropped out a McDonald's bag on the ground. That killed it right there. Got so drunk he wet the bed, next to me. She forked the local man whore because he's pretty behind his girlfriend's back. He made fun of a group of kids who had Down syndrome at the park. I told him he was a gross asshole and walked back to my car and left then and there. We were in our 20s, BTW. I have been obsessed with this guy for a long time. Someday he tells me something surrounding the circumstances of his upbringing, nothing violent or illegal, just against my morals. At the moment I felt he should be contrite about the situation. I expected him to be sorry for something he had no power over. I instantly stopped feeling any romantic feelings towards him. I told him I couldn't talk to him anymore and we never spoke again. Needless to say, it made me see what a narcissistic, judgmental jerk I'm. It's a blessing for him I disappeared from his life. This is a public statement of how stupid I am, but it's time to tell this story. I was 18 and this guy who was 4 years older was into me. I was into him as well. We met months before but we never really talked because he was seeing someone. When they broke things off he texted me on Instagram. We started talking and he asked me to go to the movie theater together. I asked him when and he said quando vuoi tu, a tua discrezione, which means whenever you want, at your discretion. I had a past full of older guys trying to hide me from the outside world because they thought I was too young and I thought that at your discretion meant be discreet. I didn't want to deal with that bullshit anymore so I completely ghosted him. I found out what at your discretion actually meant just 4 years after. I remember I felt so bad that I reached out to him and told him the whole story. He laughed it off and said it was no big deal. I still feel like a complete idiot when I think about it. Edit typo. He was rude and dismissive to my little brother. I know little brothers can be annoying, but he, brother, 13, wasn't being nosy or disrespectful. He just wanted to know if my crush liked video games. I'm also really close to my siblings and wanted them to be included. The next boyfriend I had / current husband spent hours teaching my little brother to play old school StarCraft, and to this day 6 years later they still play video games together at least once a week. Upgrades, people.